You're listening to the Amazing Facts Daily Devotional. Today's topic, Ellen White, a Modern Prophet, Part 5. Ellen White is the most translated nonfiction author in all of history. In her lifetime, she wrote 40 books and over 5,000 articles. Her works have been translated into 148 languages. At the age of 19, she married James White and continued receiving visions from God, encompassing important biblical truths like the Sabbath, specific guidance for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, such as in matters of health reform and education, and prophetic events like the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. One of these visions came in 1948. In it, Mrs. White was instructed to urge her husband to publish the Advent message. But since the young couple had no money, Elder White began looking for ways to invest and people who would be willing to help. Unsuccessful, he then began to look for work in order to fund the project. But Mrs. White was then given another vision, stating that her husband was to write, not labor, and that God would provide the means in faith. Elder White immediately obeyed. In 1849, the first copies of the Present Truth were, with much prayer, printed and distributed. From this 8-page paper was born a lifetime of literature ministry for both husband and wife. The paper's name has been changed several times over the years and is currently still in production as the Adventist Review. Mrs. White also began to contribute her own writings. Her first book, now included as a section of early writings, was published in 1851. Amidst the travels, sickness, and debt, the printing continued. First a printing press was purchased, and then a printing house, built and paid for by generous donors. After her husband's death, Mrs. White spent the next 3 decades not only producing printed works, but also speaking, traveling, and with God's mighty hand, guiding the Seventh-day Adventist Church. She wrote until she could no longer, and in 1915 passed to her rest. Faithful to the last, her final words were quoted from Scripture, "I know whom I have believed." 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 12. Her prolific career as an author, as well as a messenger of God, existed simply because she responded to the call to testify of Him who saved her. Ellen White spent her entire life in active ministry for the cause of Christ. What can we learn from her testimony that our light may continually burn brighter for God? Our key Bible text today comes from Revelation chapter 1 and verse 3. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. Thank you for listening to the Amazing Facts Daily Devotional.